On the morning of July 25, 2016, Jennifer and Brian Matthews were like many other couples, excited, in love, and ready to enjoy their long-awaited vacation. The couple, both in their early 30s, had left behind the hustle and bustle of their lives in Florida to unwind at a luxury resort in Jamaica. They had been married for 4 years, their love grounded in shared adventures and a mutual passion for exploring the world. Jennifer, a teacher with a warm smile and a love for the outdoors, and Brian, a tech enthusiast with an adventurous spirit, had planned this trip meticulously. For them, Jamaica was the perfect destination. Its golden beaches and turquoise waters promised the kind of peace and relaxation they desperately needed. The day began like any other on a vacation. The sun was shining brightly over the resort, and Jennifer and Brian were eager to take a break from the all-inclusive amenities and venture out on their own. They had booked a day trip to a secluded beach, away from the crowded resort, in search of a private escape. It was a decision they would soon regret. By evening, Jennifer and Brian Matthews disappeared on that quiet, remote beach in Jamaica, and what seemed like a tragic mishap quickly evolved into something much more scary. The investigation, initially focused on locating the couple, soon began to reveal unsettling details and suspects that would throw the entire case into turmoil. Their belongings, left behind on the shore, were the only clues. What began as a romantic getaway quickly morphed into a chilling mystery. What happened to Jennifer and Brian Matthews? And why had their peaceful retreat turned into a terrifying nightmare? This is the story of their disappearance, one that has captivated the nation, leaving behind questions that, even years later, remain unanswered. As we uncover the mystery behind the story of Jennifer and Brian Matthews, please kindly subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. We appreciate your support. Jennifer and Brian Matthews had been planning their getaway for months. After years of hard work and long hours, they had finally saved enough for a trip that would offer them a chance to relax, rejuvenate, and celebrate their love. A luxury resort on the north coast of Jamaica, known for its crystal-clear waters, pristine beaches, and all-inclusive pampering, was the perfect place to escape the demands of their busy lives. Jennifer, with her compassionate nature and easy smile, had always been the kind of person who believed in the power of nature to heal. As a teacher, she dedicated her life to helping others. But over the past few years, the grind of lesson plans, grading papers, and endless responsibilities had left her craving a real break. She had always dreamed of seeing the world, experiencing different cultures, and reconnecting with herself. Brian, her husband, was the perfect complement to her. A tech enthusiast with a love for adventure, he had a passion for pushing boundaries. Whether it was skydiving or hiking through rugged terrain, Brian was always in search of his next thrill. Together, they made the perfect pair, a dynamic duo who balanced each other's strengths and weaknesses, always supporting one another through life's challenges. The Matthews had been married for 4 years, having met during their college days in Florida. Their relationship had grown stronger over the years, cemented by shared experiences and mutual respect. Despite their contrasting careers, Jennifer, the nurturing educator, and Brian, the ambitious tech professional, the two had forged a deep, unwavering bond. They had become each other's best friends, confidants, and partners in every sense of the word. As they arrived at the resort, everything seemed perfect. The resort was a tropical paradise, luxury suites, fine dining, and endless activities. But Jennifer and Brian didn't want to spend all their time on the resort grounds. They craved adventure, something more than just lounging by the pool. So, on the morning of July 25, 2016, they decided to take a boat trip to a remote beach far from the tourist crowds. It was to be a peaceful day in nature. Just the two of them, surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of the island. They boarded the boat around 10 a.m., a small private vessel that would take them to the secluded spot, known only to a few. The sun was already high in the sky, casting a golden glow over the water as the boat cut through the waves. The resort staff, who had arranged the excursion, waved them off with smiles. And Jennifer and Brian were filled with excitement as they set off toward the untouched beach. The boat captain, a local man familiar with the waters, dropped them off at the beach around 11 a.m. It was a perfect escape. No tourists, no distractions, just the sound of the ocean and the rustling of the palm trees. The couple spent the next few hours exploring the beach, taking photos, and simply enjoying each other's company. Jennifer, barefoot in the sand, was delighted by the serenity, while Brian, as always, was ready to jump into the next adventure, taking pictures of the landscape and soaking in every moment. But by 3 p.m., when the boat was due to return to pick them up, something went terribly wrong. The boat captain arrived at the beach, but there was no sign of the Matthews. The beach was eerily quiet, with no footprints leading toward the water. Their belongings, 2 bags, a camera, and a pair of flip-flops, were left behind, scattered haphazardly on the sand. It was as though they had vanished into thin air. The captain searched the area for over an hour, calling out their names, but there was no response. The boat's horn sounded across the shore, but still, nothing. No one could explain what had happened, and there was no sign of struggle, no indication that the couple had been in any distress. At 4 p.m., the captain finally left the beach to return to the resort, reporting the disappearance to the authorities. Within hours, a full-scale search was launched. The Jamaican police, local volunteers, and even tourists staying at the resort joined the effort, combing the beach and the surrounding areas. But despite their best efforts, there was no trace of Jennifer and Brian Matthews. The beach was vast, the sand untouched by any other sign of life. The couple's personal items, their bags and camera, were neatly arranged on the sand, as though they had simply put them down for a moment and walked away. But where had they gone? And why hadn't anyone seen them leave? The authorities were baffled. The couple had seemed so carefree when they left the resort. No one had noticed anything unusual, no signs of an argument, no strange behavior. They had been excited to explore, but they were also cautious, having been given directions to the remote beach by the resort staff, who knew the area well. Could it have been an accident? Had the couple wandered too far into the dense brush, gotten lost, or suffered a mishap that left them unable to call for help? It seemed unlikely. The couple had been on numerous hikes and adventures before, and the beach was close enough to the boat dock to make an accident seem improbable. And yet, no one could account for their sudden disappearance. As hours turned into days, a sense of unease settled over the island. The local police, assisted by search teams and resort staff, continued to scour the area, but there was still no trace of Jennifer and Brian. As the investigation deepened, a chilling thought began to form. Could this be more than a simple disappearance? Could foul play be involved? Theories began to surface. Some speculated that the couple had been victims of a violent robbery, targeted by locals looking for an opportunity to steal their belongings. Others suggested a more sinister scenario, perhaps a kidnapping by an organized group with knowledge of the area. With no concrete leads, the case took on an air of mystery, and fear began to creep into the resort. What had happened to the Matthews? Were they still alive? Or had something far darker occurred on that quiet beach in Jamaica? The resort, once a place of luxury and relaxation, became a site of suspicion. Guests whispered to each other about the couple's disappearance, exchanging theories and questions. How could 2 people vanish without a trace in broad daylight? Were they the victims of something mysterious than anyone had imagined? In the days that followed, Jennifer and Brian's families were notified, and their worst fears began to come true. The couple had been missing for days, and the authorities had no answers. Their sudden disappearance seemed as inexplicable as it was terrifying. The search continued, but with each passing day, hope began to fade. The luxury resort, which had once been a tranquil paradise, had become the epicenter of a mystery that no one could solve. Jennifer and Brian Matthews, 2 people simply seeking adventure and relaxation, had vanished, leaving only questions behind. The only thing that was certain now was that this was no ordinary vacation gone wrong. This was a case that would leave its mark on everyone involved, haunting the island and its community for years to come. As the investigation continued, the only thing clear was that the Matthews fate remained a mystery. A tragedy that no one could explain and no one could forget. At first, the Jamaican authorities, along with resort staff, launched an immediate search. The police sent out helicopters, deployed canine units, and gathered local volunteers to comb the beach and the surrounding areas. For days, nothing turned up. The beach remained eerily empty, with no signs of the couple, no footprints, no markers of a struggle. Their belongings, carefully arranged on the sand, were the only clue left behind. The camera, still packed with pictures of their carefree moments and their bags, untouched, sparked an eerie feeling that something wasn't right. The first breakthrough came when investigators took a closer look at the couple's camera. The last photos on the device were taken just hours before their disappearance. Jennifer and Brian, smiling and holding hands, were clearly enjoying their time on the beach, completely unaware of the fate that awaited them. But there was something strange about the last few photos. In the background of one image, a shadowy figure appeared near the edge of the trees, just on the outskirts of the frame. The discovery sent chills down the spines of the investigators. Was this figure another tourist or someone more dangerous? More troubling was the absence of any footprints leading to the forested area, as if they had vanished without warning. A few days later, a local fisherman reported seeing something odd. A boat had been anchored off the coast on the day Jennifer and Brian disappeared. He said it was an unfamiliar vessel, and although he hadn't seen anyone disembark, he'd noticed someone standing on the deck, watching the shore. The fisherman couldn't identify the individual, but his account added a layer of suspicion to the case. Was this the key to unraveling the mystery? Theories began to form quickly. Was the couple the victims of a random robbery gone wrong? Or had they been targeted by someone with knowledge of the island's less traveled routes? Investigators soon turned their attention to several key suspects. The first person they questioned was the boat captain who had dropped Jennifer and Brian off at the beach. He was a local man who had worked at the resort for years and knew the waters well. He insisted that he had dropped them off and seen them walking toward the beach. However, his vague recollection of the details surrounding their departure became suspicious. When pressed, he seemed overly nervous, which raised red flags. The authorities learned that, days after the disappearance, the captain had quietly left town, claiming he had a family emergency. Was this a coincidence, or was he trying to distance himself from the investigation? Resort employees were also scrutinized. With many people coming and going from the island, it was easy for someone with less than honest intentions to blend in. One staff member, a bartender who had worked at the resort for years, was reported to have had a brief conversation with Brian at the bar the night before their trip. The bartender, known to be friendly and talkative, seemed to have had a personal interest in Brian, though nothing sinister was initially suspected. However, as the investigation progressed, police learned that the bartender had a history of financial troubles, and his whereabouts on the day of the disappearance were unaccounted for. Was he a petty thief, looking for an easy target? Or was he involved in something more dangerous, linked to the rising crime wave in Jamaica? Then there was the fisherman who had spotted the boat on the day of the disappearance. His testimony became crucial, and he pointed to a potential criminal syndicate operating in the area. Several locals had reported seeing strange boats near the beach in the days leading up to the disappearance, and some suspected that these boats might have been linked to illegal activities such as human trafficking. The idea of a human trafficking ring targeting tourists became a horrifying possibility. As the investigation continued, investigators were bombarded with false leads. A few days after the disappearance, rumors spread that Jennifer and Brian had been seen in a nearby town having fun at a local bar. These reports were quickly debunked after surveillance footage showed no sign of the couple. Yet the rumors sent the investigation spiraling into confusion. diverting attention from more promising avenues. In another twist, a tourist who had been staying at the resort came forward, claiming to have overheard a conversation between two men discussing a deal involving a couple who had recently checked into the resort. The details were vague, but the statement sounded plausible. Authorities were quick to investigate this lead, only to find that the two men were part of a larger group of tourists who had been staying at the resort at the time. Interviews with these individuals revealed no further information, and it became clear that the overheard conversation was merely a misinterpretation. Another dead end. Weeks went by with no significant breakthroughs, and the case began to fade from the headlines. But then, out of nowhere, a phone call came into the police station. An anonymous tipster claimed to have seen something unusual on the night Jennifer and Brian disappeared. The tipster said they had noticed a man walking along the beach in the dead of night, looking hurried and anxious. The person described him as having a rugged appearance, with dark hair and wearing a backpack. The description matched no one previously questioned in the case, but it was enough to stir hope. Investigators worked tirelessly to track down this mysterious figure, and after a thorough search of the area, they found someone who fit the description. A local man with a criminal history, known for petty thefts and dealing in illegal substances. His name was Darnell Ruff Johnson, and he was no stranger to the authorities. However, when they questioned him, he denied any involvement in the couple's disappearance. But as the investigators dug deeper into Johnson's past, they found something chilling. He had been known to frequent the exact beach where Jennifer and Brian had gone missing, and he had ties to a local gang suspected of being involved in human trafficking. As the investigation zeroed in on Johnson, another twist unfolded. A former accomplice of Johnson's came forward, offering a shocking confession. Johnson had been working with a group of criminals who targeted tourists, luring them to isolated areas where they could be robbed or, in some cases, abducted for ransom or trafficking. The accomplice claimed that on the day Jennifer and Brian disappeared, Johnson had been part of a larger operation, but that something had gone wrong. The couple had been targeted, but the criminals had underestimated the couple's resistance. There had been a struggle, and in the heat of the moment, they were forced to flee, leaving Jennifer and Brian behind. The accomplice's statement was enough to lead to Johnson's arrest, and he was charged with kidnapping and theft. However, the fate of Jennifer and Brian remained unclear. Despite searching the nearby forests and waters, no bodies were found, and there was no evidence to indicate whether they had been taken off the island or met a tragic end on the beach. The case of Jennifer and Brian Matthews remains officially unsolved. While Johnson was convicted of related crimes, the couple's fate has never been confirmed. Despite the breakthrough in the investigation, the mystery of their disappearance continues to haunt the island. Jennifer and Brian's families, devastated by the lack of closure, continue to search for answers. The investigation into the criminal syndicate that may have been involved also remains open, as authorities work to dismantle the network that could have caused their deaths. The broader impact of the case has been felt across the island. Tourism has been affected, with more attention paid to the risks tourists may face. And the local community remains divided on the true nature of what happened to Jennifer and Brian. What was once seen as a paradise is now seen with suspicion, an island where the line between paradise and danger can be disturbingly thin. For Jennifer and Brian, the promise of an idyllic vacation was shattered in an instant, leaving behind a trail of questions that may never be answered. The only certainty remains. Something terrifying happened that day on the beach, and its shadows continue to linger over the shores of Jamaica. Before you embark on your next adventure, remember that while travel can be an incredible experience filled with beauty, culture, and personal growth, it's essential always to prioritize your safety. Whether you're exploring a bustling city or a remote beach, staying aware of your surroundings, trusting your instincts, and doing proper research can make all the difference. The world is full of amazing places waiting to be discovered, but the key is to do so in a way that keeps you safe, secure, and ready to make lasting memories with the ones you love. So, as you plan your next getaway, take the time to prepare and stay informed. Your safety and peace of mind are just as important as the excitement of exploring new destinations. If you found this story captivating and want to stay up to date on more true crime mysteries, travel safety tips, and engaging content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Join our community, and together we can keep exploring while staying informed and safe. Stay curious, stay cautious, and I'll see you in the next video.